And, we could talk about some honorable mentions if there's some extra time.
I do want to hit on a Mario thing I've discovered about myself, and maybe other people too.
Okay.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there too.
Yeah.
Folks, if you are coming on early, the episode will start in just a few minutes. So until then, we're just going to shoot the shit.
A bit.
So, anyway.
I have wanted.
Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to talk about like the games that have come out in the last 6 months because I feel like we've not talked about any because there's been some good stuff that's come out recently.
Yeah.
And I'd like to tweak on that.
Guardians of the Galaxy is one of them. If you haven't tried that yet, Mike, try it. You've got the PlayStation 5, and there's no reason why you shouldn't.
I have so many other things. I had to get Tracy got me a memory card for Christmas.
Which is coming soon.
I'm ready to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I'm excited to try it.
I just recently played Final Fantasy VII Integrate, the DLC thing for the 7 remake, and it's pretty great. It's only like 4 hours of it, but it was 4 hours of fantastic.
It really expands the lore in those 4 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
blown away by it.
It really the end credits really puts to rest how involved a certain character, no spoilers, will be involved in the game going forward. So,
I'm excited to see where that goes.
So we are at 7:00. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Bring down that image and bring down that. Okay. We are good to go. Thank you for listening to RGC or even watching RGCWV Random Geek Culture in West Virginia. We are live tonight on YouTube, and usually I am the one that is the host of this show. However, tonight someone else has actually come up with a premise and has organized everything for this. So tonight, Alex will be our host. Alex, some words of wisdom or some organization for this episode?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about console release titles. That's games that came out early into their platform's lifespan and had a lasting impact to us or the games industry, or just really left an impression, a lasting impression. And a lot of times those first impressions really drive sales of a console. I mean, sometimes even the system's very identity is part of just the games that came out with the system. Pack-in games like I'm thinking about Wii Sports for Wii U or for the Nintendo Wii, like that. That was a big part of what that console was because it was a pack-in title. And in terms of like just driving sales, just making people go out and buy the console, it's important that a new generation comes out with some knockout games, absolute must-have stuff, and sometimes those release titles remain the very best for the whole system for its entire lifespan. Now, we're not going to cover every single console or every game for it, or even all of our favorites. We may not be able to, just time. Just the ones that left a big impression to us. So if there's a game that you'd like to mention, feel free to drop a comment about that and tell us about your favorite release titles. And now, a clarification is, go on, Luke.
I was just going to say, we are doing this live, and I am monitoring the chat. So if anybody drops a comment in while we're doing this live, we will talk about this live if you want.
Yeah. Now, to just set the premise for what we're calling a release title, it's games that came out within 1 year of the console's release. Now, we're going to prefer to do earlier games, like pack-in titles, or like within the first couple of months, but a whole year, that's kind of release window. And we're only talking about North American titles and their North American release dates, because a lot of these came out much earlier, overseas or somewhere else, but it's where we played them. It's where we first saw them.
For instance, Animal Crossing, which I don't remember the name at the time, but Animal Crossing originally came out for Nintendo 64, but it was a early launch game for GameCube. And so a lot of us would consider that a GameCube game because that's when it was released, or that's how it was released in North America. So, outside of the States, that might not be the case for some of these dates.
So yeah, early games. Who wants to start?
Let's have you go first, Alex, since it's you lead us out.
Okay. So my first pick for this is Super Mario Brothers for the NES. Like, this was probably one of the first games that I ever played. I think it is often underestimated just how much by younger people who weren't there, Mario Mania was like a thing. Everything was Mario. When I was a kid, Mario was everywhere. You had all the merchandising and the cartoon and all that stuff. And we were talking a bit about, did we play games during their release window, or did we play them much later? And well, Mario 1 came out in 85. I was born in 86. Okay. Okay. And I probably wasn't playing games until I was like 3 or 4 years old at my grandpa's house. That my grandpa had an NES because he was and always was a big kid. He had an NES before any of the grandkids did. And I would go over to my grandpa's house and play Mario. And it was always, he was so competitive. He would get like legitimately mad whenever I would get farther than him, in the game. But he could beat it. I remember he could beat it, and I never could whenever I was little. He was better at the game than I was. To talk about the game in a technical sense, in just what made it innovative and better than any other NES games, if you look at a lot of the NES's lineup early on, none of them held a candle to Mario Brothers. Like, that was the area of like one screen games, like Donkey Kong or Donkey Kong Jr. or Pac-Man or Mr. Do, if anybody knows what that is. That most games took place on one screen, and you cleared that screen, and then you went on to the next level. Mario had continuous horizontal scrolling, which was a feature that, like, there were a lot of platforms on the NES, and not very many of them had that. Like, I'm even thinking like Mega Man. Remember how Mega Man worked? That like you come to the side of the screen, and then you beat the guy on it, and then you go to the next screen. That was the sort of holdover from older systems. But it wasn't continuous, and few games were. That's part of what made Mario 1. It controlled really tight, something that many later games just didn't have. Very tight, very accurate, very responsive controls, and that continuous scrolling that just kept the action moving until you got to the end of the level. Throughout the NES's lifespan, not very many games other than Mario 2 and Mario 3, would really hold a candle to this. So Mario 1, it's a fantastic title, and it holds its reputation today. So yeah, that was probably my first video game, Mario 1.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts on Mario 1, guys?
I mean, there was other games for Nintendo, I mean, even me personally, that sold me on the Nintendo that I wanted a Nintendo for. But Mario launched that system altogether. Yeah, I mean, not just talking about the technical aspect, but it was just fun. Because, I mean, games coming before it, not talking about just the technical aspect, the physics, the feel of Mario in his acceleration, his jumping motion and everything, nothing came even close to that before Mario. The mic, what were
And
you gonna say?
and
Go ahead.
after, that's the thing. And also after Mario, like a lot of other games on the system that came out throughout its entire lifespan were like platformers, especially were clunky, hard to control, dated, like quickly dated. Just too hard, too crazy. You're fighting the controls all the time. Many games that came out through its entire lifespan weren't even as good.
Have you seen any of its comeback on online streaming?
Oh God, yes. Oh
It
yeah.
has made, even on TikTok, they will take their phone and point it at a TV screen and do these low tech streams that will have 3,000 people watching someone who's only like 20 years old playing a game from the early 80s.
Right. 1985, year before I was born, Mario.
That was the first game that I ever beat. You're talking about beating it. It was the first game that I ever realized could be beat, because before that, like playing Atari games, there was no definitive end. You just kind of got somewhere and then it starts over. So it was something I remember being very satisfying to actually get to the end in the Princess Vita. Of course, then it does start like the harder like type worlds that are the same.
The princess is in another castle.
Right. But yeah, it was the first one that I felt like I actually accomplished something by beating it,
Mm.
and I love that about it.
And eventually, my grandpa got tired of me coming over and playing Mario and also Punch Out. That he got me a Nintendo. He got me my own Nintendo.
Good old grandpa.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, let's.
Yeah, who's next?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and go next. Since we did a early generation game, I'm gonna go for a late generation or later generation game, current gen for Nintendo, and well, that's this. That's this right here. Zelda Breath of the Wild. I remember. So this game launched Switch for me. I mean, there was a lot of games that people considered that was a launch. I mean, there was also Mario Odyssey, which was, a big launch for Nintendo. But Breath of the Wild was the game for Switch. You can argue about that until you're blue in the face. It is and always will be Breath of the Wild that launched the Switch. Now, I actually have a story to go along with this. But actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and set the stage first. So when this first came out, when they first announced it at E3, that first trailer, it was all I could think about. I was like, I have got to play this game, and they announced it as the Skyrim killer or the Skyrim competitor. And there's lots of games that say that they're the World of Warcraft killer, the World of Warcraft competitor, or they're the EverQuest competitor. But very few games actually live up to that expectation. And Breath of the Wild did exactly that. It was a competitor and a killer for me for Skyrim. I was playing Skyrim all the time. But when this came out, that's all I wanted to play. I wasn't playing Skyrim anymore. And to the point that I wanted to play this so badly that I would actually go to Target whenever Cassie would go and shop around Target. I would be there playing Target on the demo system for a half hour or an hour or whatever. Parents, so say, don't look at the weird man, little boy. Don't look
What's
at him.
wrong with that man, Mom?
What's wrong with that?
It's okay. Don't look at him.
And it was just such a great game. It was so immersive. To get to my actual story, so Mike, who had a Switch at the time, he decided to let me borrow his Switch, and because I didn't have one at the time.
So to insert my part of the story is, I finished Breath of the Wild and I was like, "Hey Luke, have you played this yet?" And he's like, "No, not really." And I was like, "That is criminal that you have not played this yet." So I let him borrow my Switch for the summer.
And you know what? So one of the things that I loved about that wasn't just the game, but it also highlighted something that was key for that system, which was being able to... I would be playing it on the TV, because I would be playing it for hours and hours and hours every night. And I would be playing it on the TV, and then Cassie and Bella would come in the living room, and they'd be like, "Hey, we want to watch a show." So I would pick it up out of the dock, and I would keep playing it on the couch. It was literally doing exactly what the system was advertised to do, and it was highlighting that. It was letting me be able to go back and forth between handheld to TV. Obviously, I enjoyed the TV more, but the experience on the handheld was very similar to the TV experience. I mean, I could go on and on about the mechanics or anything, but the game's been out long enough. Enough people have been playing it. That doesn't need to be, explored in this. But all I had to say is it launched the Switch for me, and it launched the Switch for a lot of people. So, any thoughts on that? Any interjections?
It's worth mentioning that Breath of the Wild wasn't even an exclusive title. It was also on the Wii U, which is where I played it. But it's not. There's no denying that people bought a Switch to play Breath of the Wild, probably because they didn't have a Wii U. But
a lot of people didn't have a Wii U.
Right. That's part of it. But it is a game. Best. It's the mobile aspect of it was so new and so innovative at the time, and having such a big game on a mobile system.
Yeah, it really is. At that time, it was really good for a mobile game to be that nice. Because I preferred it on the TV, but I would drag it to work or something, and I'd be playing it. I'm like, this is pretty nice for a handheld game.
Right. All right. I think we're done with that one. So, who's next? Greg, Mike?
I'll let Greg go.
Okay.
Well, I had some trouble picking one because I have actually been disappointed with a lot of consoles launch titles. So I was looking through that whole list, but I did see Final Fantasy II on there, which was 4 in Japan. And I was a fan of Final Fantasy from the very first one.
I thought it was
my
5
uncle
in
gave
Japan.
I thought it was 4.
It was 4?
Oh, it's
okay.
4.
Yeah.
All right.
My uncle gave me the original game when he was done with it, and I played it over and over. It was my introduction into turn-based RPGs, JRPGs. So when he got this one, he passed it along too. But because of the differences in the systems, it was a major leap. Of course, I didn't know at the time it was actually 3 more games in, but it was a major leap from the first one. Just what it could do, how big the world was. And I couldn't tell you how many hours I spent on that game. I beat it multiple times, and it was a pretty long game in reality to play over from scratch. Beat it, start a new one, play it again. And I think some people overlook it because 3, which was 6, and then 7 came out after it, and they're extremely popular. So I think some people just kind of forgot to existed. But for one of the first games I remember playing on a Super Nintendo, it was really a step forward in the genre for me, and with just the graphics and the mechanics, and I still play it. It's on PC now, but I still play it. I go watch people stream it, even though I have like every line in the English version memorized at this point. But it really stuck with me, and I think it is what really. The first one was my introduction, but I think this is what hooked me on RPGs, especially turn-based, because of just the style and the things it could do, and the characters and the narrative.
I definitely like how they incorporated a lot more like job systems, or not so much job systems, but classes. Yeah, they did it very, very well. I don't know if you've played the 3D remake of that, but that one was actually pretty decent. The remake of some of the other ones was
not as much.
Yeah, not as much. But that one was actually pretty good. And some of the cutscenes that they put into it,
mm-hmm.
it was a lot more. I don't know. I would say a lot more understandable. But of course I haven't played
it helped
game.
The narrative.
I haven't played the game like 30 times, like it sounds like Greg has. But I mean, that's how I am with Final Fantasy VII.
My experience towards that game is very similar to Greg's. My brother had a friend who gave us our copy, and we got. I mean, it was probably 1997 when we got it. But for being a late, start to an SNES game, I was like, wow, the scope and the narrative of this is incredible, and I never realized it was that close to being a launch title. But that was my intro to Final Fantasy and RPGs just in general, and it's one that holds a special place in my heart, and I do wish it got more love than what it did. And I'm holding out for a pixel remaster on the Switch. When that day comes, I will scoop it up in a second. But until then, it's in my memories.
That's a genre that's a very old gaming genre. Even to like really rudimentary DOS games had RPG stuff, and they were before Final Fantasy, and especially 2. They were much more rudimentary. I remember I've played 1. I've not played 2. I've played 1, and I remember how simplistic. Which it was relaxing in a way, that you go into the town and everybody in the town says there are pirates in town, and then there's like a pirate and says, we're the pirates, and then you fight them, and then you get their ship, and that's it. There's really not a lot of dialogue here, and then you beat them. You have defeated the pirates. You now have their ship, and then you go on to the next area. That's how deep it was, and 2 was such a jump. Such a jump beyond that.
The thing about that game too is I was never surprised by Aerith's death in Final Fantasy VII, because they killed main characters off in that, and I was always like, why is this so shocking? They have priors. They've done this in the past, and so it
priors.
They put many characters in that game. Actually, most of them came back to life. Some didn't, but it was enough that it kept you guessing who was going to make it and who wasn't. So. It prepared me what was to come, I guess.
So what's yours, Greg? Or I mean, Mike. I'm sorry. God.
So for mine, I decided to be more stringent with my rules as far as launch titles go, and picking true launch titles, which are ones that came out with the console. Just so I didn't get too into the weeds with this. And I had a hard time. My second choice was easy. My first choice, I really went back and forth and did a lot of research for. And I just finally decided to start way back in the beginning where it started with me, which would have been the Atari 7800. And the game I wanted to pick was one called Choplifter, which was an arcade port. Fantastic game. I downloaded the emulator like a year ago and played it, and it still holds up as far as like terms of fun. But as far as I could tell, it was not released within a launch window that I can see. So I decided to go with a true launch title for the Atari 7800, which is called Pole Position 2, which was a very intuitive racing game for such primitive hardware. It was an arcade port to the 7800, and that is a console that I bought off my cousin because he wanted to buy an NES, and I was a rube enough to get my toes wet in the game industry with a lesser console, not knowing how great the NES was at the time. But as far as like graphics at the time, it was a pretty amazing game because it wasn't like a top-down like race around the track type of game. It was actual like almost like 3D racing around a track type thing. I mean, it had very little depth as far as what you could see ahead, but it knew where the track was. Like it had some pretty complex tracks too for the time. Being like 2-bit technology or whatever. But I don't really have a whole lot to say about it because I've been doing some research on it, and there's not a whole lot you can say about those days. But I was surprised to find that the Atari 7800 came out around the same time as the NES, which I would have thought that it came out before the market crash because there were still some terrible games on it. But it came out around the same time, and of course, NES stomped it with Mario Brothers, which I completely understand. But this is a game that always kind of stood out with me just because it went well with the console. It was a good game, and Atari had that joystick thing that I think it was a joystick, and they had 2 buttons on each side that you pressed. And I think this game almost exclusively used a joystick, but it was a good joystick type game, which is what I think made it perfect for a system launch. And so that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Have any of you all played it?
I've played it.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no.
Do you remember your first time playing it? Or the first time you saw it?
Yeah, I believe my cousin brought it. Like he lived across the state. He brought it to our house when he visited, and we sat there and played it the whole time he visited. And I was like, this is, because that was my like first any exposure at all to video games. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. and then like 3 years later, I saw Super Mario Bros. For the first time, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. And then it happened again, 3 or 4 years after that with the SNES launch, which brings me to my second title, which I will not run right now.
That's understandable. Yeah. I'm glad you picked one from pre-NES days. Like that's, I'm glad you picked an Atari title.
Yeah.
And we both picked our first video game. Yeah.
Yeah, go back to the roots.
Yeah.
That's where the genesis was of your love for video games. So why not start there? That's all I got about it.
Alex, go ahead and let's just keep going in the same order we did.
That works. Yeah, my second pick here.
Oh, wait a second. Let's do an intermission. Okay.
1877 cars for kids.
Dad, can I eat the cake in the fridge? Dad replies, sure, but the dining room would probably be more comfortable.
Bravo.
Luke can't even tell the joke because he makes himself laugh.
Well, the thing is I like to do these dad jokes cold. I like to go in cold. But
you're making it worse.
Because okay, go, Alex.
I don't know if I can. I don't know. I don't know if I can recover from this. Hold on. There's whiskey in this. Mm. Okay.
Oh, it burns.
So my pick for my number 2 is Star Fox 64. That, going forward to the N64 days, there were so many in researching release titles. The N64 has to be like the strongest system for release titles. That it has so many. But the one that really blew me away was Star Fox 64. I remember seeing it, I believe it was in Toys R Us on like a demo machine, kind of like Luke seeing Breath of the Wild.
So many neck cramps.
I know, yeah. You're way up there playing the N64. And the thing that I wasn't even playing the game. I don't even know if I got to play it. But it was the fully voice acted. I had never seen a fully voice acted game before. I mean, I doubt that it was the first, but it was the first of its caliber. And that was so mind blowing to hear talking over the entire game. Not just, I mean, there were like on the NES and even the SNES. Yeah. I mean, it was that on Star Fox. I mean, I remember Tecmo Bowl. Whenever you win, it goes like congratulations. You know. But and so that wasn't new, but this was like high quality, fully all the time talking. Hey Einstein, I'm on your side. Do a barrel roll. All of these iconic lines coming out of the TV that stuck with me forever. And yeah, that's why I picked Star Fox. It wasn't just the voice acting; it was also seeing a 3D rendered game. It was one of the first 3D rendered games I had saw. That combined with, I had played Star Fox for SNES, and this was like leaps and bounds above that, and with all of the voice acting, with all of the memorable iconic voices. Yeah, really memorable moment. And then I finally got Star Fox and got to play it at home. And yeah, what were your guys' experiences with Star Fox?
I had the original one when it came out, and then this one, it took up years later, and it felt like, and I believe they've admitted it, is basically a remake of the original one, but they've expanded it in so many excellent ways, including like ground missions.
Right.
There's one ground mission where you blow up the depot that is just like one of my all-time favorite levels of any game.
Is that the one with the train?
Yeah.
Oh yes, that was one of the first ones that I discovered an alternate path on.
Oh yeah.
I realized that was even a thing in the game, that like, if you get all the signposts, you'll get them on an alternate path.
Yep, everything about that. That level is one of the most perfect levels ever made, and it's hard to say these days with the 3D platformers that have kind of lost their zeal after better stuff has come out. But that's still one of the best levels of any 3D era.
I remember when Star Fox for N64, like, they were planes. We knew they were planes, but they were triangles. They were just triangles, And then the Star Fox for N64 came out, and it looked like an actual space generation plane. It actually looked like it. And the graphics were smooth, and the frame rate was good, and you were doing all kinds of cool maneuvers, but it was still a rail shooter, as it were, but it didn't feel like it. Like the first one felt like it. It felt like a rail shooter, but the N64 one, it felt like you had more control. It's just, there's not enough things I can really say that hasn't already been said about how fantastic that one was for the N64, and it showed off in comparison of the best that the the Super Nintendo could do, and what the N64 could do right out of the gate. The difference, the leap between those two, and I think that made a fantastic launch title.
The hatches are open.
Do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll. The whole time.
Fox, help me! Help me!
Oh, yeah.
I gotta pull out, guys. Oh, Slippy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We love Slippy. He was. I gotta know. Does everybody else have the same experience as I do with that game? Slippy's always the first one to die.
Oh, I am. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Slippy's the worst pilot. Yeah. So,
okay.
Voice acting in Star Fox. That's me, man.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go.
Do it.
So you guys may have seen, and people on the stream have probably seen, my Nintendo shelf back here. It's not so much Nintendo, but Smash Brothers. All of the characters on there, for the most part, there's some other ones. Actually, you know what? All of them have some kind of appearance in Smash Brothers. And that is my pick. But not for the Nintendo 64. It's the one that the League, that I, and then most gamers consider the best Smash Brothers until Ultimate. Ultimate is a really, really great Smash Brothers. But up until then, Smash Brothers Melee for GameCube was the game. So a little story to go along with this. Like the last one, this one involves Mike. When me and Mike were in college in Fairmont, we would stay up for hours and hours playing Smash Brothers for Nintendo 64. That game was great. It was so cool. A fighting game with Nintendo characters. And then Mike got a GameCube. And he got Smash Brothers right away. And that is all we played. I would go over to his apartment and we would play for hours. He would come over to my apartment. We didn't have a GameCube there. So he would take the cables, and you know what? Having a handle on the GameCube was quite convenient.
You're supposed to do it.
And whenever we had like a tournament or whatever, he would just bring it over to our house. Because Mike was alone in his apartment, but me and my roommate Aaron, that's where we'd have the tournament. That's where we'd have Smash Brothers all night. And my God, that game was just so fantastic. I would like to be able to say, I know how many hours I put into that game, but it's got to be pushing 500, 700. I don't know, but my God, that game. And then of course I got my own GameCube, and I put, I don't know how many hours into it. I mean, Mike, I would like to know someday, if your GameCube is still working or you still got your memory card, if you could even tell us how many hours is logged on Super Smash Brothers Melee.
I do still have it somewhere. The other thing that you didn't talk about is we actually for a month or so had it in the coffee shop there in Fairmont. Book and Bean, may it rest in peace.
Yeah,
and we would have like tournaments with like the patrons that came in. They come in and sit down and play a little bit, and then we kind of whooped them all, and then they'd leave and they felt like they're satisfied. They got their coffee and their Smash Brothers butt whooping. And yeah, that's actually my strongest memory of it is the time we played it at Book and Bean.
Yeah. Butt whooping. I like how you say they got their butt whooping. I still have a hard time. I have a hard time beating Mike at all. At all. I don't know what it is. Alex, you've played me several times, and I'm a pretty good fighter. I think I'm a pretty good fighter.
I can usually beat Luke.
Oh my
gosh. If I can
we'll have to play sometime, Mike.
All right. I'm not as good as I used to be.
Well, here's the thing. He doesn't play the game how I think that the game should be played. He plays the same character every single time and just does.
No, I don't.
No, not you. This guy, Mike.
You know what? In the Book and Bean sessions, I went undefeated.
Pikachu.
I never lost once. So my guy's Pikachu, and I just hammer out those thunder shots.
Yeah.
Pika.
On Melee.
Stupid hamster.
So on Ultimate it's different, but on Melee, it was always Marth. I was a Marth guy, and I liked playing Marth. There was a tournament at the what is it? The WV PopCon, and they had a tournament, and I got pretty far, and what was it? I think it was 1 or 2 tiers from the top. I was matched up against one other guy, and he was a Roy character, and I was a Marth character, and it was. We were clashing swords. We were hitting smashes along the same time. We were both dodging and weaving and everything. He actually did beat me, but I remember a lot of people actually talking while we were playing the match, like, "Oh my God, this is the best match we've ever seen!" You know, that was probably the most fun I'd ever played or had playing Smash Brothers, at least in recent memory. But yeah, no, Smash Brothers, system seller for GameCube. There were so many good games for GameCube, but Smash Brothers, it really takes the cake. So, anything else, guys, on Smash Brothers before we go?
It's worth mentioning the GameCube. Not many of its release titles were stuff that I would call like, A+. A lot of GameCube's best games came later on. That I'm looking through the list here. Pikmin was a release title.
Oh, that was a fantastic game. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. I mean, it's a short list. Mario Sunshine was there. I'm looking through the list. Like, that's kind of the two. Pikmin, Mario Sunshine. What else is there? Oh, Luigi's Mansion. Never mind. Okay, there's 3. So yeah, Smash Brothers. Oh man. See, I never had a GameCube. I went over to my friend David's and played it a lot.
That was when that was near to the end of Couch Co-op. I would like to say the Couch Co-op is still alive and well, but it's really not.
I got it specifically in anticipation for Metroid Prime, because that was like the one game I wanted to play when it came out immediately, and so I think I got it a year or so in advance of that.
So, Greg, what's your number 2?
Well, I had to think about it. It wasn't on your list, and it's more recent, but I thought about it, and I was going to go with a PS5 game, but I decided not to. I'm going to go with a VR game. Vader Immortal was a launch for Oculus, and I absolutely love it. It was one of my first VR games, and there were some other games, but they didn't really immerse me into the VR. That one did. That one really got me into the VR. It really immersed me, and it had a good story. The story really engulfed me. It had me feeling like I had force powers. It was that immersive, and for running on the Oculus, the first one, that little standalone headset, it looked really good. It had some really decent graphics. But it is kind of my launch into VR. So it's very memorable for me. I still play it from time to time. I don't always have it installed because it takes up a lot of room. And I do have an Oculus Quest 2 now, which has more room on it. But all 3 episodes do take up a good bit of room. But I really like it. I really wish more people got to experience it because it's one of my favorite Star Wars games, period.
That's high praise. That is such an exciting pick. First VR game.
I don't know.
Like
if you guys
I haven't really played a lot in VR.
I don't know if you guys were looking, but as soon as Greg had mentioned Vader Immortal, all 3 of us all perked up to say, "Oh,
ooh,
yeah." Keep going.
No,
Alex.
that's a fantastic choice. No, I'm blown away by this. What is it? I don't know much about this. What's it like?
All right, so you start out very mundane. You start out basically as a smuggler because those don't exist in Star Wars at all.
No.
Your co-pilot is an android, and you're just meandering through the universe, and you are seized by Imperials. And so I'm standing there, and I'm like, well, what's going on? What's happened? And you look up, and there's a Star Destroyer. So, like, you're very early into this game, and you're looking up through your ship, and there's a Star Destroyer taking you over. And it drags you to Mustafar, because it's about Vader. So you're going to Vader's castle. Basically, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but you have a special force-sensitive bloodline that he needs to try to get an item he wants to basically resurrect Padme. He's trying to resurrect Padme. He actually has her body at the castle.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the lightsaber is the coolest lightsaber I've ever seen that you get from your ancestor. It's this really elegant, very, very ornate handle that comes up, and it has like 2 wings, and then it has a coil, and the crystal is exposed. The crystal is not in a case, it is exposed, so the energy comes up and hits the crystal, and it kind of almost looks like it's short-circuiting, and then the beam shoots up above the crystal.
Wow.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty good.
I actually have a story to go along with this. I was actually at Walmart, and I was going through the calculations in my head of how much it was going to be. And I decided not to pull the trigger. I ended up doing something else at the time. I forget what it was. But I actually was in the store considering buying an Oculus One to play that game. That game specifically. I almost pulled the trigger to play that game.
Yeah.
It was one of the games. There were multiple games, but it was one of the games that made me think I wanted the system because I didn't need to upgrade my computer or anything. It was a standalone. But this was one of the games that was specifically for that device that made me go, well, this device will play this game, and I really want to see this game.
Now, since you have the 2 now, did you get Resident Evil 4?
No, my backlog is huge and my wallet is empty, so I'm not. I don't have it yet.
Isn't that
have it eventually.
Isn't that the swan song of gamers?
I will have it eventually because I don't know what it is, but if I don't spend money on the Oculus Store for like 2 or 3 months, they send me $10. Which is a lot for the Oculus Store because a lot of the games are only $10 or $15. Each episode of Vader Immortal was $10, I think. So all three of them put together was $30.
I've heard a lot of good things about Resident Evil 4 for VR.
I am not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but I still want to play the VR version.
Oh, 4 was the game changer.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's the best one.
I think when I play horror games on a TV screen, there's nothing horror about them. They don't frighten me, scare me. It's like, okay, it's just I like the genre, but it's just another type of game. I have a sneaky feeling, on the other hand, playing it in VR with 3D audio might be a whole different experience.
That'd be something. It'd be interesting to film you on the outside, like your reactions to things.
I would love to see what I look like, because I've seen other people play VR, and you look so stupid.
Oh,
you really do.
One of Cassie's favorite things is to watch to film me playing Super Hot.
I kind of want to see this now.
Yeah,
she makes some money off that.
Man, yeah, Super Hot is such. It is the game that I play when I play VR. I love that game in VR. Alex is really good too. Have you played that, Greg?
Which one's Alex?
Half-Life Alex?
No.
Oh man, that is.
I have quite a few VR games, but I don't think I have that one.
Well, that one's a Steam exclusive.
All right, so I only play them on the standalone because it's not that my PC is not powerful enough. It's just that they've decided they didn't bother making it compatible with Oculus Link yet. So it doesn't run it will run some games, but it doesn't run very well over the Oculus Link at the moment.
Okay.
I'll tell you, Luke, you want to get views for this channel, you upload those videos of you playing Super Hot, it might blow up.
Yeah.
Hey, I blew up on the last two videos, so I don't know if I'm not going to really say that 3,000 is blow up when other people are getting 3 million.
Yeah.
So.
No, I want to see Luke with the goggles on there. Oh God, they're all over the place.
That feels like a very niche TikTok type of subject, like virtual reality reactions. I'd watch that.
Have you watched people play online that you don't see inside the game because they look so terribly goofy?
Things like that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Now, if you see them in, like, if they have the technology to make it look like they're in the game, like they do that with Beat Saber all the time, that's boring. But when you watch these people, and some of them are so into it that they have like the 3-dimensional treadmill where they can walk around without actually moving, and they still look goofy.
I've seen the one where somebody gets scared and jumps and like runs into like furniture or something like that.
There's all kinds of good bloopers of people like falling onto furniture, walking into walls. It's great.
Yeah.
I haven't got to play very much in the way of VR. I played a little bit at my buddy Brian's house, but like that's it. I don't have a VR system. Maybe someday.
Hey, looking at time.
The Oculus Quest 2 is great.
Yeah. What's yours, Mike? Yeah, we should move on.
We're doing pretty good though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish strong. My final pick is Super Mario Brothers for the Super NES, which plays off Alex's a little bit, but I had the opportunity to pick Super Mario Brothers, and I decided not to because the leap I felt from Super Mario Brothers to Super Mario World, which I realize is probably what I meant to say earlier, was just like amazing. From like the leap in graphics, the leap in the more things you could do within the side-scrolling environment. I remember first seeing like ads for it. I think during like ET, like Thanksgiving of I guess that was 1992 maybe. And just being like, this is incredible. And then around that same time, there was a Walmart that opened near us. And anytime we went to that Walmart, it was like, Luke, they had the console demos there where you could play Super Mario World. And we would like ditch our parents and just stay there and play the whole time to where...
neck cramps!
They'd have to kick us off so other people could play. Like there's a line forming behind us, and they have to kick us off. But to me, that's my all-time favorite launch title, just for the sheer excitement of how I felt at that time. Because by that point, I was like a fully formed gamer, and this was the next big thing. And I had to get on it. And, I was, 11 at the time, so I also didn't have any kind of money to put towards that kind of thing. So we did get it for Christmas, I think that following year. And yeah, it was just, I mean, that was the console itself is what changed my life. I got Mario Paint at the same time, which I didn't think to look up whether that was a launch title. And that basically shaped my entire career into design. But we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
But the Super Mario World, just like leaps and bounds, was just a huge jump, just in everything. And I want to touch too, because I thought it was funny that none of us picked Mario 64, which always seems to me to get like the high marks for like the biggest jump between like technology and Mario games. But I was never really that sold on that game, to be honest. And
still my favorite.
It's funny. Like I like Mario Odyssey, but like I did some soul searching this week as to why I didn't pick it, why no one else picked it, and I come to realize that I just don't like 3D platformers like that. I think platformers are best served on a Super Nintendo type console.
Or like the latest Metroid installment, where it's 2.5. That's a fantastic way to introduce or to reintroduce.
Because that was the perfect way to present that game to the world, and I'm really glad they did it that way. That was a bold choice, and I commend them for making it.
No, I do have a story about, like, if you're going to bring up Mario 64, like the intro sequence where Lakitu comes on and does like the swooping camera, and you see all of
the
yeah.
I was trying to remember his name.
Yeah, like that scene was like the introduction of 3D gaming in general to me. It was the first time I had ever seen anything rendered in 3D, and like that was the first game that I booted up my N64 and played that, and just that, the music, it was ushering in a new era of gaming or something like that. It really did feel that way. So yeah, honorable mention Mario 64.
So, Alex, I'd like you to go into, or I can go ahead and go into this as well. We'll just bounce back and forth. You might notice that there are overabundance of Nintendo launch titles. Why didn't we mention a lot of Xbox or a lot of PlayStation or any of that? Go back and look at that list. Go back and look at when those games came out, especially the PlayStation 1. The launch titles of the first year of when the PlayStation 1 was out was abysmal.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, though, I think, is more or less that it was Sony the music company, Sony the movie company, was just testing the waters at this point. It was a market that was completely dominated by Nintendo. So they were.
And that's kind of how Microsoft was kind of the same way too. If you think about it, they were just kind of trying to test the waters to get into it.
There were a few, I'm looking through the list here, there were a few sports games, which, like, I'm not a big fan of. I play them sometimes, but there were a few sports games on it. There was Gex. Does anybody remember Gex?
I do.
It
sucks.
Jupiter Strike, Siberia, Crazy Ivan, Hardball 5. These are ATV off-road racing. I remember playing that at my cousin Todd's house. The PS1 came out in September of 1995. Crash Bandicoot came out September of 1996. I feel like that was the PS1's first, like, gotta have it title.
Yeah.
That didn't come out to a year, a full year
Now they came back strong with PlayStation 2. There was a lot of good launch titles for PlayStation 2. But like Xbox, same thing.
Name one. Name one for
One
PS2.
One for PlayStation 2. Oh,
Because I have a list, and I think the same for PS2.
Really? I was looking through the list, and I was like, I remember that game was good. That game was good. Go with the list.
I mean, I'm just picking out my ones that I remember. Dynasty Warriors 2. We used to play that at Brian's house. ESPN Winter X Games. Dead or Alive 2 Hardcore.
Yeah, I remember that one.
FIFA 2001. ATV Off-Road Fury again.
Now, I do remember that there was a
High
game.
Heat Major League Baseball. I remember that being...
Is Rival Schools on there?
Checking it. Not seeing it.
Okay, so Rival Schools, it came out in the early when PlayStation 2 had launched, and I still to this day remember the tagline that they had for Rival Schools, and it was "Boobies bounce better on PlayStation 2."
I might remember that ad. I remember, yeah.
Where are you telling me about that ad?
Looking,
it was true
Klonoa,
too.
Remember that? Kessen. Did anybody play Kessen?
I played Kessen. That one was actually okay.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and of course we're even talking about Xbox. We could mention the launch titles of Xbox, but everybody knows what the launch game was for Xbox, and that was Halo. Yeah. It was the killer.
No, I do want to give an honorable mention to Halo. Like, if we're on an honorable mention list, Halo, absolutely.
Let's jump to that.
Mm-hmm. I only didn't pick it because I thought someone else was going to.
Yeah. I never had an Xbox. I never played Halo, but I know I went over to friends' houses a whole lot to play both Halo and Halo 2.
I got an Xbox just to play that.
Yeah.
Or play Halo 2, actually.
So many people did.
It showcased what it could do.
I just waited until it came on PC, and then me and Mike and Aaron, we played it every night or every week. It was like, what was it, like every Saturday?
Saturday morning.
Yeah, we all played for a little while, all playing, because it was the only place to play Halo online. You couldn't do that on Xbox.
That's right.
I just remember the LAN parties where people would hook up Xboxes together.
Oh my!
Did you ever witness that?
Yeah.
All the time. All the time.
Not witness.
We used to go to
participate.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Big huge line of Xboxes all connected.
It was it was a phenomenon, dude. It really was. Halo was a phenomenon.
It was.
And then
Halo parties.
And then Call
there
of
were
Duty
Halo parties.
Call of Duty came, and then the Halo parties turned into Call of Duty parties, and then sports bars were starting to have Call of Duty parties, and then it killed it. So
darn sports bars.
And then there's also like Sega consoles. The answer to every Sega console is going to be Sonic. Like, what is the game that? Why did you buy a Sega console? To play Sonic? I remember desperately wanting a Sega Genesis when I was little, and I never got one. Because I wanted to play Sonic so bad. And of course, my parents were, you already have a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo. We're not getting you another console. And understandable, understandable totally.
I had to obtain my own, and I liked it.
Right.
I did. I ended up with all three.
And Sonic is a fantastic reason to buy a Sega console.
That was the majority of what was played.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Crazy Taxi a Dreamcast launch? I think it was.
Did I track that?
I never even saw a Dreamcast.
I didn't look them up that far ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
maybe in a pawn shop.
Because I remember that I wanted a Dreamcast just to play Crazy Taxi. That's still the game I play on Dreamcast emulated. That and Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Oh man, I love that game.
Yes.
Oh, I love that game.
Fun fact, the Sega Genesis has the best version of Shaq Fu. That it has 2 characters that the other consoles don't have.
All right.
Shameless plug for the RGCWV spin-off show, Bobby's Classic Cartridge Catalog, and Shaq Fu is one of the games that we play.
Did you play the Sega version?
Yes, we did.
We did.
We played
Nice.
the Sega version.
Mm-hmm.
We have some other episodes of Bobby's Classic Cartridge Catalog coming soon. Not there yet, but soon.
Any other honorable mentions from you guys? Stuff that just didn't quite make the list or wanted to talk about?
Yeah, looking through it was hard to compile a list based on my parameters. Halo is the only one I can think of that I probably would have picked.
I will mention one thing, and Greg touched on this. We have never had such an abysmal generational launch as the current one right now.
That's true.
Because, I mean, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is fantastic. Great game. But what else is there for PlayStation?
I mean, those are both under a year, so technically they count.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are so convinced that there's so many good games in the first year of both the 2 new consoles, and I really think a lot of it is just they're a fanboy or fangirl for that console, because I played a lot of launch titles on both, and I was not feeling it for most of the launch titles, if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, shoot, the Xbox didn't even have Halo, and that's always been their launch title every single time.
Yeah, that's very true.
That said, we look back at really both PlayStation and Xbox have been rather barren in their first year. All of them: PS1, 2, 3, Xbox 360, all of them.
I had every PlayStation, but I can't remember a first year game that I was really fond of for any of them.
And we've brought up Nintendo so many times because Nintendo, that's their business model. They know what sells their consoles. It's their good software. But that's also something that I'd like to point out, that both Microsoft and Sony have kind of figured out now, 5 generations in, is that Nintendo can make their own software. They are a both first-party software developer and a console developer. Microsoft and Sony have never really had that. Not until recently, when both PlayStation and Xbox have bought studios, have they really been able to say that they can develop their software first party. And I think that is the cap on this entire episode, is that Nintendo is that first party developer that also sells their first party consoles.
I think that's a major point, because it doesn't matter what the console is. Most Nintendo consoles will have some level of success just because I want Zelda, I want Mario, I want Animal Crossing, I want Pokemon, like just because I want Nintendo games.
Yeah,
People do that.
And that's not to say that good games don't come out on these consoles. It just usually takes a while. PS1 had some fantastic, memorable games. From
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid is on PS1. Come on, but didn't come out in the first year.
The other way to look at that too is Sony and Microsoft also sell their systems as media devices, not exclusively for games. Like, streaming is now a big component in both those systems, where it's not so much a Nintendo. They have much more focus on their games than what
you can stream Hulu. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought about that. Is a release title for PlayStation 1 a DVD, or no, PS2 a DVD player?
Hey,
Because people bought that as a DVD player, you know.
I have a story for that. I have a story for that.
Okay. I never thought about this.
Showstopper. I've got a story for that ties into this. Okay. Does everybody remember HD DVDs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And Blu-rays. Does anybody know why HD DVDs did not win?
Sony.
I feel like you told the story before, but I can't remember the answer.
Sony actually had a big promotion, multiple different chain stores for the Blu-ray, where they were selling both the console and 3 DVDs. So you got 3 free DVDs and the game, I think it was, and the console itself. It was a huge seller. My friend Matt was actually working at Walmart when this happened, and he literally said to himself, "This is going to kill HD DVD." So there's
nothing wrong with the HD DVD, but Sony outpaced Microsoft on promoting it.
Yeah,
because after the 360, the Xbox went to Blu-ray.
It's so weird how sometimes these consoles or hardware or whatever can completely drive the world, overreaching to multiple different facets. I mean, just look at the launch of the iPhone. Now it's now everybody has an iPhone. There's one holdout, and Alex, please don't ever change, because I have my confidence that at least somebody that I know still has an Android phone.
Oh, I have Android.
Okay, 2 people.
Yeah.
Oh, BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I had a BlackBerry too.
And BlackBerry was doing what iPhone did before iPhone did it. Because
actually, well, yes, BlackBerry, but the first actual operating system for cell phone was really the Palm Centro.
It's true. It's true.
We brushed into a whole other episode.
Yeah, we really could. Let's.
I gotta say, honorable mention to. I never thought about this. Honorable mention to DVD player and Blu-ray player as release title.
Yeah.
That's a reason to buy those consoles.
That was my justification for buying a PlayStation 2 when I was in college. Because I couldn't afford it, but I was like, but I can play movies, so that's all I need. I can go to the video store, rent movies, bam, DVD player.
That's a fine point.
Yep.
So, we're at 8:10 now, so let's go ahead and do Geek Outs, and then we'll finish out this episode.
The desserts.
The desserts of the episode. If you caught the beginning part of the stream, that was what we were talking about, was breaking down what a podcast should be. So, you know what, Mike? I think you're chomping at the bit. Go ahead and tell us what yours is.
We'll go in reverse order from the episode.
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, I want a quick shout out, because we haven't talked about games that we played recently. So quick shout out. We already mentioned Metroid Dread, which is amazing. And second shout out to Deathloop, which is also amazing. And hopefully we can talk about that sometime in the future. So my geek out is food related. And it kind of goes back to something we talked about in the episode too, with Book and Bean. You remember that place, Luke? Do you remember the Book and Bean?
Oh, I do remember the Book and Bean. I also remember not the Pat's cheese melt, but the Yuppie melt, which was just a Pat's cheese melt with Capicola on it.
I made that for dinner tonight, Luke.
You made a Yuppie melt.
I did, and so I got to think about Book and Bean nostalgia, because it had that garden cream cheese that really ties the bagels together. But not only that, with the sandwich, we had leftover Italian wedding soup that I made from scratch. which was also a thing that I first discovered at Book of Bean. So my quick geek out was just West Virginia oriented, Fairmont oriented, Book and Bean oriented, because both those things happened there, and it was cool. We got to talk about Smash Brothers tournament there too.
Yeah, right.
So it just ties it all nice together. So shout out to that place because I miss it and the people.
Yeah. I actually just sent so Lori, it was her birthday the other day, and I posted one of the comics on the bar strip. It was the one where she was talking about what mocha java coffee is. If you remember that one. And I was like, Lori, may we never, you know what? May we change a little.
Now I want a Jamaican shake.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing. We all say, hey, let's not change from when we were in college. But I don't know about you, but I wasn't the best person in college. I've grown a lot, so maybe I change a little from when I was in college.
Yeah, not all change is bad.
Yeah,
a little bit of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's not be so arrogant to think that we came out perfect right out of the gate.
That's right. Right out of high school, we were perfect.
Yeah, right.
And never got better.
Never got better. Oh man. Okay. Let's see. Greg or Alex?
Greg, you go.
Okay, Greg.
I think mine right now is cloud gaming. I'm really enjoying cloud gaming. I do cloud game at home, but I do more of it mobily, because the idea that I can be sitting somewhere bored out of my mind and pull out my phone and play a Xbox or PC game at 1080 on my screen with my controller, because I bought 2 controllers just to cloud game. Really like it. And I like that most of them sync. Well, they all sync across platforms. Some of them across more platforms. But so you can play it at home. You can play. You can play on a computer, a TV, your phone. That would be mine at the moment, because that's becoming my form of portable gaming now, more than like mobile games or a Switch. Is being able to take my phone, don't have to carry an extra device because most of the games will run with touch, and then sitting there playing a console or a PC game with ray tracing even on my phone.
That's kind of insane. That's pretty cool though. You're the one person that I know of that is all into games as a service.
I think I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we're all gonna get there eventually.
Yeah.
I definitely
I'm
believe.
doing hybrid right now. I like to buy and I like to have service both. So you got like Luna, which is purely service, and then you got Stadia, which is like you buy, and then I've got console like Xbox where I'm doing both. I'm buying games and I have games as a service.
I truly believe that this generation of consoles is the last one. As much as
Maybe not that soon.
As much as I don't want to think that, I think that.
I think you'll get another 1 or 2 generations, but they won't look like they do now. They will go through a metamorphosis. The Xbox is already getting very close to just being a PC anyway, to be honest.
It's always been that. It's
closer than it's closer than it's been in the past to being what.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they just don't go ahead and just put regular old Windows on it at this point.
It actually does. It's a stripped down version.
Yeah.
So.
I'm surprised it just doesn't have full functional on it.
All right. I'm gonna go.
I'll let Luke go last. You mind?
Go ahead.
No, you close it out. You
go
close
ahead.
it
Go
out.
ahead. Go ahead.
You're gonna close the things out because mine's not that good. Well, it's a little bit good. So I got for
That's what
Christmas I got a dehydrator for Christmas
Ooh.
that I've been using to like dehydrate hot peppers, and I've been also been working on ramps. I picked ramps, okay, in when they were growing, and froze them for multiple purposes for making hot sauce. But I still have the greens from the ramps that I'm working on dehydrating them to make like a ramp spice so that I can have ramps year round. My goal is to, in some form, have ramps year round. And I'm hoping, yes, yes. Now, to any of our listeners who not from West Virginia don't know what ramps are, they're a kind of wild leek that tastes like onions and garlic and like nothing ever. They're very very strong smell. Stinks up my entire house when I have the dehydrator running, and it smells fantastic.
Onions and garlic at the same time is a good way to describe it, actually.
Yes.
Truthfully,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got your ramp hot sauce that thank you for that. Really good on stuff. Really good on stuff. I've had it on sandwiches. I've cooked it in stuff, and I'm not just the only one that likes it too. I've had several other people try it, and I really like it. It's not too much. When I say ramp hot sauce, people, but not so much. What were you saying?
Well, I've been dehydrating ramp greens, and I don't know how they're going to turn out, but my intention is to make a spice out of them.
Well, that's actually what I do with those over there.
Mm-hmm.
I hang peppers for 6 months to a year, and then I run them through the spice grinder, and I make Luke's spicy spice.
Yes.
That's what I call it.
Well, I'm going to make my rampy ramps. Yeah.
You should make small batches of that and sell it as like NFTs.
No.
Since you can't mass produce it, you might as well go bougie with it.
You've made us all worse for that. So Luke, close it out, man.
Okay. So my geek out is actually multifaceted. Because why? When can I ever make anything simple? So my geek out is actually Fleetwood Mac, The Chain. I love that song. I love Fleetwood Mac, but that is my favorite song from Fleetwood Mac. And I was driving in the car about a month ago, and I forgot how much I loved that song. And it started playing on the radio. I was actually having a bad day. And that came on the radio, and I was in so much better of a mood. In fact, I came home, and Cassie's like, I'm sorry you had to go do that and everything, and I was like, you know what? The Chain was playing, so I'm good. The reason why this is multifaceted is because that song made me think of the game that I asked for Christmas and I got. And every time that I listen to the song, because I listen to it almost every day now, makes me think of what I'm playing right now, which is Guardians of the Galaxy. Because Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the song for the trailer was Fleetwood Mac, The Chain. So every time I play the game, I think of the song, and every time I think of the song, I play the game. It's in
the movie too.
Yeah, it's in the movie too. You know what's really upsetting though? Not so much. Is it's not on the soundtrack of the game. It's not in the game. But I mean, they got a lot of really good songs in there.
They do. There's a big soundtrack to that game.
One of my favorite ways to play that game is when you're like going through a big battle, sometimes you'll ask everybody to huddle up, and you give him a pep talk or whatever, and then he plays one of the songs in the 80s on loudspeaker, and my favorite one that he plays is Flock of Seagulls. Whenever he starts, I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Because the fight picks up, you get more powerful if the huddle's successful. So he blares this music, and the rest of your fight, that's the fight song.
Yeah.
It's whatever 80s song he's blaring. And I have thought about streaming that game, but if you stream it, all that music gets muted.
Yeah.
And it just would not have the experience if you could not hear the songs in this game.
So what you got to do is sing it. That's what you got to do. You've got the touch. You get the power. There you go, man. That'll be you.
You know what?
Keep going,
Alex. Keep singing. Go ahead. Keep singing for us. Oh wait, he's muted.
You better not have.
Yeah, no, I did on the stream. I can mute you on the stream.
Well, that's what you should do. That's what you should do, Greg. You should sing along when you stream that.
I've actually been thinking about streaming a game too. It's playing Ghost of Tsushima in the Japanese mode. The black and white.
Kurosawa mode.
Yeah, Kurosawa mode.
Yeah.
With subtitles and everything. I feel like that would be a good stream. I need some time to sit down and play through that. Because
I might finish that game someday if it didn't have side quest and photo mode.
Oh man,
I use photo mode so much in that game.
I got the coolest snapshot from Guardians of the Galaxy last night. It was right when Rocket was. I got everybody's special skill all at the same time, and they were.
Oh, nice!
And I was fighting one of the big androids, and so Rocket's 5-barrel is great. It looks so cool. So
it's a beautiful game too. Like individual strands of hair. Like this game is very detailed. It's very beautiful.
But the thing is that I've been telling other people that have like a PlayStation 4 or the Xbox last generation, whatever it was called. This game, the graphics are not what's making it fun.
Oh, it's not. No.
It's
the story and the music and the voice acting. The voice acting is very on par.
It really is. It was so funny though. Bella came in and she's like, "Why is Star-Lord blonde?" And I'm like, "He was blonde in the comics." The game is actually more accurate to the comics than the movie. And
their Nowhere is better.
In the second movie, where at the end credits everything is like gold and everything, and they release this one guy and they're like, what are we gonna call him? And the one lady's like, we will call him Adam. That was Adam Warlock, and they never used that in the MCU. They may someday. I don't know.
Oh, they've cast him.
But but this game is kind of a resolution to that storyline, because this dives deep into Adam Warlock, so in his storyline. So that's a good. I can't say enough about that game and that song.
It's a really good game.
Yeah. So, Alex, you were our host tonight. Any sign-off words?
Thanks for listening, and put some thought into games that came out really early in the console's lifespan, and maybe also games that came out really late into a console's lifespan, because there's a special place for them too.
Oh, actually, aren't we planning on doing a podcast here in the next couple months?
Well, that's what I was trying to be a little subtle about. We're probably going to talk about games that came out really late into a console's lifespan, eventually that really showed off its full potential, or just did more than anything else that was done on the console. And there is a lot of it holds a special place for me, a console that has like a swan song game.
Yeah.
Its final farewell, its final best work. And a lot of consoles have some really clear best titles.
Right.
Can we call on that now?
Huh? What'd you say, Mike?
So can we call dibs on that now?
Well, yes, yeah. We'll work that out.
I feel like we're going to all fight, or at least two of us are going to fight over.
That's my concern. I'm worried now. Now that you said it like that, I'm like, oh.
I don't care. Mine, yeah. You guys pick what you want to pick, but
I'm calling Ghost of Tsushima. I'm calling it now. Sorry.
How did I know?
Yeah. But yeah, there's a special place for those late release games that just did fantastic things that the console nobody thought it was capable of doing.
Now,
and I want to talk about that.
We're not gonna just do one per person. We're gonna do just like this one, two per person, I think. Also, I want to talk about the next episode. The next episode, since we don't want to do just games, even though that's what we talk about a lot. The next thing that we're going to talk about, the next podcast, is actually going to be related to those over there. Thing we were talking about just a minute ago. We are going to have a podcast. Me and Alex are very deep into both growing our own peppers, fermenting our own peppers. That's what's happening right here, is fermenting. And then making hot sauces or jellies or whatever. And so that's what the podcast is going to be about. It's going to be our experiences, lessons learned, a few tips and tricks, and hopefully you guys learn something, but also hopefully you get to geek out along with us about hot peppers and fermenting and hot sauces and everything like that. So that's going to be the next episode. And then after that, I think will be the episode about the late console releases. So Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to finish this out at the very end. So this has been RGCWV, Random Geek Culture in West Virginia. Your host tonight was Alex. And with us was also Greg and Mike and me. And if you like this, drop us a like. Hit subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Do all of the things. Also, leave us a comment. Tell us what your favorite games were that launched. And I'll be watching the comments. All of us will be watching the comments. And if you have one that you want to get our opinion on, just give us a comment and we'll comment right back. We'll tell you what we think. Sometimes. What?
That was you.
Oh, really?
I turned the live feed on.
Oh. Am I that loud?
You're talking to yourself.
So anyway, go into the about section. It will take you to Linktree, and it will take you to all the other social media places that we post on, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then also the podcast. The audio version of this podcast will be published up there here in the next couple days, and so you can listen to it in your car while you're driving to wherever. And thanks, guys, for listening, watching, doing all of the things. We enjoy doing this. This is a hobby, but we enjoy that other people also enjoy this. So anyway, as always, welcome to the end.
Welcome to the end.
Welcome to the end.